Let's talk about layers. So we've heard of layer one, layer two. So let's start with the basic definition of layers.
So layer meaning there's multiple stages of it. Does that make sense? Like
No, I have no idea what.
what
is?
there's like if
What
you
is
put
a layer?
like think of it kind of like foundations built on top of each other, and this is the first layer, like the crust, then this layer, this layer, this layer. So there's multiple things built on top of each other.
Okay.
Is the easiest way I can explain it. The first thing is layer one, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum. These projects are the foundation is layer one. It's the whole ecosystem of
It's the core.
correct, the core. And then layer two is more of like scalability to be able to make it run faster, run smoother, transactions cheaper. Like that's the layer two. They're building another project on top of Ethereum to make it go faster. An example of that would be Polygon or Cartesi. Those are
So
programs.
how do those make them better?
Because think of it kind of like you're running a, let's say a kitchen, right? And there's only one door inside your restaurant. So let's say you're a really good restaurant and a lot of people start coming in. People are going to start getting agitated because there's only one way in, right? To get out, it's going to be pain. There's already people lining up. So congestion on that causes irritation. It causes people to possibly leave. So when you try to process transactions on Ethereum, on Cardano, on all these ecosystems, you're running it through depending on how many openings are. That's the easiest way I could explain it. So layer two essentially is kind of like opening a second door to allow more people and allow the flow to come in easier, making things more cheaper.
That makes sense, but what exactly is an opening?
It's like to come in, like a door.
No, well, yeah, like I know, like the similarity, but like what exactly is the opening for Polygon?
Just processing transactions.
So they're just like they just process transactions faster.
It just makes it easier to scale because if you buy an NFT on Ethereum using Ethereum, the gas fees, let's say, are ridiculous. Let's say $100-$200 for an NFT that's a couple hundred too. So instead of running through that congestion, the reason why it's because right now it's proof of work where someone has to manually process that block into the chain, go through that whole system. It takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of time, so it costs you more money. Does that make sense? To make up for that process. They're switching over to proof of stake, which will make it easier to transact because you won't need miners anymore that are adding things to the block,
And that's how they're opening.
and they're
doors.
paying the fees. Correct. So layer two is essentially, well, that's proof of stake. Layer two is just making it more scalable. So it's like adding a second, grill to you're able to make food faster. So it just basically allows it to process transactions easier, which then saves you more money because there's less congestion.
So
It's pushing load of work to a different layer.
So the way you can maybe think about it is like you have the propane tank. That's sort of like the layer one that's giving the gas to, like you said, the grill you're cooking on. But then you want to scale it more because you only have a limited amount of space. So you connect another tube to it, and it's a bigger grill, and it's like stacked
It
up
adds
top
on.
of
So yeah, so it's kind of like if George is working. Let's say George is a layer one. He's doing what he's needing to do to pay for his give his customers what they need. It's like George hiring you as a layer two to be additional help for him. So it's not just him that's selling things now. Now they can go to you and him. So he's making money still because you guys are both winning because you guys are working together to grow the ecosystem. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So-
Now, how do we get to a layer 3?
Well, there's not necessarily a layer 3. There's technically a layer 0. So think of it layer 1 kind of like you speak English and then you're Ethereum. I'm Cardano and I speak Mandarin. If I don't know a lick of English and you don't know a lick of Mandarin, we won't be able to communicate, right? That's the issue with Ethereum versus Bitcoin because they're all written in different programming languages. So in order for them right now, that's why you can't buy an NFT with Cardano on Ethereum because it's like they can't communicate with each other. They don't understand each other. Layer 0 projects like Polkadot, like Cosmos, they're trying to be that connection within all those chains. So it's kind of zooming out even more if you're looking at blockchain as a technology. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
That's as easy as I can explain it, because Polkadot is trying to basically take a transaction from Cardano. If you want to use ADA, which is Cardano's currency, to purchase an NFT on Solana, right now you can't do that. But Polkadot will basically be a hub where it knows all the programming languages. So where you're trying to process a transaction with ADA to purchase, something in.
So just like how eBay, accepts, a the yuan from China, just like they accept the US dollar, they're that hub.
Correct.
Where they have all of these different platforms where,
Correct.
shoes or collectibles or whatever that they're selling. So they're basically the next eBay or
Correct.
the equivalent
The
of
layer
whatever
zero.
that they're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, so Polkadot, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to be interchain interoperable. And then Cosmos is trying to do that as well. And then versus like a layer one, like Ethereum, they're growing within too. So think of it kind of like Ethereum being a foundation, like of concrete, right? Where you're going to build a house on top of. So that's what everything is built on top of. Then you add, let's say, a house that has different things on it. Those are the dApps, the applications built on top of that foundation.
So another quick question then. So let's say, of course, Ethereum's a layer one, and then Immutable X, that's a layer two, right?
That's a layer
Because
two.
that's scaling the NFT space.
Correct.
But would it also be layer zero? Because aren't they also trying to get into Solana or?
No, so OpenSea, what they are trying to do is they're trying to make converters, and a perfect example is that, and also Cardano and Ethereum. They're trying to make a converter where you plug in ADA and it'll convert it to whatever it is, Ethereum. Right now they don't have that. I know Cardano's working on a transfer specifically with that. OpenSea and Immutable X, think of them kind of being like dApps, right? So they're still dApps. They're layer two, but they're a dApp built on Ethereum, right? So those dApps, think of it kind of like being, an app on your phone. Like let's say,
Actually, like eBay.
yeah.
Kinda like how I said
So
that,
you can
just an
download,
actual-
correct. So you can download eBay on both an iOS device and an Android device, right? So that's kind of the same thing, like OpenSea is an application built on Ethereum, but they're integrating their application with Solana's language as well, making it accessible to Solana.
So is that sort of a workaround to layer zero?
Correct, but still you can't pay with that currency, you know what I mean, to something else. So you can't convert, it might solve the issue with two chains, but it's not solving the issue with all chains. And that's what layer zero is trying to solve. Polkadot's trying to be that hub where your transactions are going through as one chain, coming out as another if they can, solving that issue.
So in layer one, I think you said Ethereum, Bitcoin,
Bitcoin.
so Cardano, those are all layer one.
Correct.
So who has the advantage right now in layer one? Because obviously I know like price wise, Bitcoin's the biggest one in terms of market cap and everything. But who's like number one in that
Ethereum.
sense?
For sure. Ethereum
And
has
why?
a huge gap because they were built first. So Bitcoin was in 2009. Ethereum was a couple years after that. Vitalik Buterin worked for the Bitcoin magazine, and the reason why he came up with it was because of gaming. That's a big issue with what we talked about, where if you purchase something in a game and that game goes bankrupt, that company, you lose everything. And he didn't like that. So he wanted to kind of adapt the aspect of currency, because that's what Bitcoin was created to be, peer-to-peer cash lending. That's what it was essentially built for. Ethereum kind of takes that idea and multiplies it for a ton of different categories, including gaming, including, identity, all this other stuff that they're going to be able to solve with their technology.
Are they going to stay on top, do you think?
That's a good question. I mean, if you look at the .com bubbles, like that era, AOL was king back then. Everyone had AOL, and if you ask someone back then who's going to be king, everyone would say AOL. The issue though is I think Ethereum has a huge lead right now, but they're at a disadvantage because they're battling not just against time with converting from proof of work to proof of stake. They're also combating different projects that are new generation, third generation projects like AVAX, like Solana, that were recently built and are gaining big traction because the fees are so much cheaper.
They already had a lot of the issues in mind when they kind of created their projects.
Well, they're already built as either proof of stake, proof of work, proof of concept. There's a bunch of different proofs that they use, but they evolved off of Ethereum's proof of work, which is still technology that Bitcoin used. So Ethereum is battling time to try and convert to proof of stake. So it's basically like they're fighting that battle, and they're also fighting the battle of other chains trying to take command. Who's going to take the lead? Ethereum has a huge gap, so I think they maintain that gap if they can solve that proof of stake issue fast, and if they can. But right now, a lot of their market cap's getting taken out from other companies,
Especially
like
Solana.
Solana, Cardano, Avax. All those companies are coming for their throat right now.
Damn.